you are an entrepreneur, a professional, a speaker, or a coach, and although you've come a long way, it's time for you to take it to the next level. We've got you. This is the Author to Authority podcast. We'll help you use authority and influencer marketing to build your business stronger and faster by publishing a book. You'll hear from guests that are thought leaders in sales, marketing, networking, communication, social media, promotion, and business leadership. Let's do it. This is the Author to Authority podcast. And now your host, the extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson-Pinder.
Welcome to the Authors to Authority podcast. And today I am so excited for today's episode because, when you want to grow your business big, it's a lot easier to have 5 clients that pay you $15,000 than hundreds of clients that, pay you almost nothing and want everything from you. So we're going to be looking at today high ticket offers and podcasts. So I am so excited to welcome Sheryl to the show. She is the visionary co-founder of Icon Maker, where she and her partners have propelled coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs to achieve 6- and 7-figure successes through high margin programs and strategic podcasting. With over 3 million in client sales since 2023, Sheryl's leadership is transformative. Before entering the business world, she spent 2 decades as a Canadian television anchor and executive at the Weather Network. Welcome, Sheryl.
Hi, Kim. So great to be on your show today. You hit it right on the head. Less clients, more revenue. And I think sometimes in entrepreneurship, we have a lot of people who kind of losing sight of the fact that you need to be making a profit. Otherwise, you're not in business.
It's a hobby. I've had many hobbies over the years.
Well, it's a distinction, but it's an important distinction.
Well, I think, the thing is that it is a hobby, but we don't want it to be a hobby. We want it to be a business. But I think many times there's a lot of mindsets, there's a lot of teaching, there's a lot of things that we've been taught that hinder us from believing that we can sell high ticket items. I mean, I remember the first time I ghost wrote a book. I wrote an entire book for $500. I learned very quickly that was not going to make me money. I had to raise my prices. But by the same token, I was on a freelancing site, and the first few jobs I kind of at a loss because they gave me amazing reviews and I could very quickly raise my prices.
Well, that's and that's not a terrible strategy though, Kim, right?
No.
You were at a stage, you recognized the stage that you were at, which is at the beginning. You needed to find a client, a paying client, in order to get, and you got value from that client in other ways that were monetary, but just indirectly monetary. So as long as you go into it with a strategy, instead of just working for free because you don't have the confidence to ask for what you're worth, that's a different conversation.
It is. And we won't have that conversation today, but because I know we want to get into your area of expertise. But I also wanted to say welcome to a fellow Canadian. I am a proud Canadian. Love interviewing other Canadians.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad to be on your show today. And I know we're going to talk about the importance of podcasting. Yes, that's the mechanism. But at its core, if you really want to, like you said earlier in the show, build a big business, if that is your dream, if that is your aspiration to build a 7-figure business, let's say, or beyond, we focus on helping people build 7-figure businesses, blow through 6 figures to get there, but also not stop there. The idea is to build a sustainable business that you can continue to grow long after you work with us. Keep working on that and keep building upon that. But at its core is this idea that we recommend people start with a high ticket offer in order to stabilize the business, to be able to bring in cash flow. So having some margins to play with so that you can pay people for referrals, right? That's the benefit of starting with high ticket, that you can really pour yourself into a handful or 10 people to accomplish the same revenue than having to play the hamster wheel social media game of, becoming whoever in order to have millions of people following you so that a small percentage of them move forward with you at $27. Like, it's which would you rather do? You would rather, we recommend that you should rather start with a high ticket offer and then descend, rather than what a lot of people are teaching, which is the ascension model. We talk a lot about this in our workshop. We have a 4-hour workshop where we really break that down. But in essence, start with a high ticket offer, work with 5, 10 people, get paid well to do it, and have some margin to be able to afford to reinvest back into yourself and your business.
And there's one of the things that I think people misunderstand is the fact that there are people out there who will gladly pay you a lot of money for your services. And you don't have to be the big be all and end all. You just have to provide something that's tremendously valuable and is going to make a difference in the lives of that person. And there are people who will gladly pay you well to do it.
They will pay you well if you formulate a plan that
Yes.
actually is linked to getting them results.
Yes, I agree.
When we poll people in our workshops and we say, which would you rather have, right? Information, or like knowledge and information, or result? It's always results, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone wants results. Yet for some reason, when we build our offers, we don't base them on a result. So it's really about results and having a transformative package that's from A to Z. And we're talking high ticket now. What does that entail? It's a comprehensive approach to actually solving the problem. And
Yeah, it's not
another thing,
transactional. It's
no,
not transactional. It's transformative. I love that word.
Yeah, absolutely. It's linking arm in arm with somebody and saying, let's go on this journey together to actually get you that result. And then to your point, Kim, as a result of building out a plan that is comprehensive, that is linked to their results, they're more willing to say, hey, I see the value in investing in that thing because it's built to actually get me the thing I want. And I don't have to piecemeal it. And, when we teach people how to create their high ticket offers, we're saying you also have the avail to add in some done for you elements to your program, right? So you might incur some hard costs in order to deliver those done for you deliverables, but you're also charging a high ticket. You have more margin to afford to do that by bringing other people in or hiring a vendor to do one certain part of the done for you element of the entirety of that program. Because again, the client just wants the result. Your job is to figure out, what is it going to take, in my professional opinion, to get them that result, and then building out the package and building out the program so that it gets there. We do something a little different on top of all that, which is that we actually link their payments to results. Not everyone does that. We hope that we're going to turn the industry on its head a little bit around that. But at its core, have a plan that's a comprehensive plan to get them the result.
It's funny you say that, because one of the reasons why a lot of people like working with, my company, RTI Publishing, is we have a complete plan. It's it's mostly done for you, because obviously our books are very collaborative in, the client's voice and that, but we have a plan. So when I talk to them, I can share the exact plan of what it's going to take, from going from, okay, you're coming to me saying you want to write a book. Here's the exact plan that we are going to follow. And when this plan is done, you're going to have a finished published book in paperback, Kindle, and Amazon hardcover. Right. So, and then not only that, we also work on the game plan of, now how are you going to use this book? So when I share that with people, they get excited because they know that I know the plan and that I'm going to be able to walk them through step by step. I think the other thing too, in terms of our business, because there's a lot of pieces, right? We also have project management software. So they can go in and they can see everything step by step. They know the due dates, they know what's being worked on, and all of those things intrinsically, that was the word I was thinking of, intrinsically, show them that we're going to get them from point A to point B, and the result being they're going to have a book that they're going to be proud of.
And you know what I love about how you're positioning what you're doing too is you're not saying, here's the book now, good luck and off you. You're saying, here's what we do. And so, of course, when people are going to invest in something of this nature, they're going to want to know at some point, they're going to want to know the features and the benefit, all that.
Mhm.
We go through all that. But what I loved about what you just said was, and now I'm going to guide you with what to do with the book, because it's the what you do with the book that is
It's the
going
result.
to be the catalyst for transformation. It's how they're going to apply the book. So yeah, I think high ticket is it's a great conversation to have, because I think a lot of certainly our audience, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors who are struggling to reach those milestones in their businesses, let's say 6 and then ultimately 7 figures in revenue, are often struggling because they're playing a different game. They're trying to do that ascension model of, okay, I'm going to start with, I was told I need a $7 tripwire to build my list. And then I'm going to ascend them up into a $97 course. And then I'm going to do a $597 course. And you're having to resell every step of that way. You're losing people along the way, right? It's
Mhm.
complex and complicated technologically and on the back end to run those types of businesses. They're usually very sophisticated in terms of technology. What I
Which
love
doesn't
about,
always work.
which doesn't always work, and it breaks and things happen and you have to have support and all those things. What I think is a simpler way and a simpler approach and a more streamlined, clean approach is to say, okay, my goal is to, and this is what we recommend with ours, is to say, fill your founder circle with 10 people in the next 2 years, right? If you have a high ticket offer, now you have revenue. Now good things are happening. Now you're working with clients and
Mhm.
you're perfecting and you're streamlining your own processes as a result of actually working with people. So
Yeah.
it's really the way to go. And then how that relates to podcasting in our world is we say that the podcasting, whether especially if you're coming at this from a host perspective,
Yes.
if you're a podcast host, you want to be thinking about who are the people that you want to connect with. It's about connections. It's about relationships.
Mhm.
Those relationships are the foundation of your business, whether those are collaborations, partnerships, yours, you come on mine, any number of different types of ways to work
Even
with
clients.
clients. How we talk about it as 3 Ps, right? Patron, partners, and platform. Because when you're inviting, let's say you have someone that you want to invite onto your show because you want to use your podcast as a means of cracking the door open to a potential relationship with that person.
Yes.
And that person knows people. They have access to other people who also have platforms and stages for you to speak on as an authority. So now all of a sudden your business is growing and flourishing. It's on the back of relationship. And
Yes.
that's foundational to any successful business. So what I love about that though, Kim, is when you start thinking about your business being built on a foundation of relationships, it doesn't matter what algorithm change happens. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what platform du jour comes along. It doesn't matter that they change their name to this. It doesn't, none of that matters. None of that matters because you have the foundations down and you're building your business on a solid foundation and then building up from there.
Well, I can tell you, Cheryl, I mean, you're episode 500 and something, that, over these last years that I've been doing this, the relationships that I have created through doing this podcast have been amazing. And, uh, especially in the last couple of years, uh, some people have become clients, some people I've collaborated with. Some of it was, to be honest, I had been praying for certain specialists to work with in my business, and I had not been able to find them because, especially when you deal with high ticket offers, you have to have a very high quality of people that you work with that produce the things for you or are guiding you through. And I could not find the people that I need. And so there were certain things I didn't implement because I didn't have the right people to help. And in the last couple of years of the podcast, it's like God opened up the door, and these strategic relationships have just allowed me to expand my business. And it's very much collaborative, because in a lot of cases, they were looking at their content, they were looking at their writing, they were looking at different things. There was things I had expertise in that, they needed help with. And so it was a lot of exchanging back and forth. Like, it wasn't even about money, it was about, okay, sharing knowledge. So I needed help in certain things. So they're like, okay, well, let's talk about this and how you're going to do this. And then they're like, Kim, can you help me with this? And so we were able to help each other, and there was never any money exchanged. It was just all about, helping and valuing and appreciating it's one of those days, appreciating each other. And it's just helped my business to grow.
Yeah. When you build a podcast and you host a show, you're building a container for that to start coming toward you. And, energetically, sometimes that can happen, right? As people find you. And the other side of the coin is to say, when you start a podcast and you're building that container, is for now you have something that you can offer others to open up relationships and do outreach. And have something of value to offer someone else, which is to put them in front of your audience, to edify them, to put them in, to be able to help them share their message and their expertise. People are much more willing to say yes to something like this than they are to a cold DM that sounds like you're trying to pitch them something, right? And so it's just a way. And I think that the 3P strategy that I speak about a lot can be applied both as a host, but also as a guest.
Yes.
Right? As a guest, you want to be thinking about building relationships as well. It is the foundation of your business. So you have to be thinking to yourself, well, what are the ways I am out there connecting with people? And then we have an exercise that we do where you identify who are the people that if you met them or they knew who you were, would have a profound impact on your business. Make a list. Who are those people? And if you've never done that exercise, do that exercise. Write down 15, 20, 50 names. Who are the people that if they knew who you would have a profound impact on you, right? And so when you start thinking about relationships, and not to mention the fact that there's a whole process of how you go about doing this from before the show, during the show, and after the show, those are the things that people often miss as well.
It's funny you say that, because I had never thought of it before, but I was either on Facebook or YouTube one day, and I heard about the 6 degrees of separation, and how, you're usually only 6 people away from being able to meet and interact with any person you want to. And I'm like, wow, that is like crazy. That, like, it blew my mind. But when you're saying that, it's the truth. Like, if there are people that you need to connect with, there are other people that know that person. And once you're in their sphere of influence, they can make those connections for you. But again, it's about relationship. It's not about spamming. It's not about, just trying to connect with that person so you connect with the other person. But as you build out relationships, that becomes a natural extension of it.
Yeah. And I think there's an art to that as well.
Yes.
As we talk to people, the more people, clients or prospects or people or connections that we talk to, we're finding that there is almost a lost art of conversation. And we have to make sure that people are approaching this idea of building relationships in the right way. So it's one thing to say, okay, now, it's built on relationships and go out there and meet people. But when you're an entrepreneur and your energy and your mindset is desperate because you know that your bank account's empty and you need sales and all these different things are happening in the back end, what sometimes people do is they go out and they start relationships, but they're doing it still in a spammy way, still in a salesy way.
Yes.
What you need to do is you need to park all that away, and you have to come into it with a service mindset nonetheless, regardless of the chaos that's going on behind you.
Yes.
Come into it with a heart and a mindset around serving others first, and good things will happen, right? You don't want to be like going out there and doing outreach and approaching it from a desperate point of view or with that energy, because people can smell that a mile away.
Yeah, I agree.
Their spidey senses tingle, right? And you see, we all get those types of messages. It's like, okay, that's a good attempt, but I can read right through that, right?
Yes.
I want to see people reaching out saying, how can I contribute? How can I help? And do it in
Yes.
a genuine way, in a like, a cool way. Be cool about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Cheryl, let's shift gears for a minute here because I'm really curious about how you went from being an anchor and executive at the Weather Network to founding Icon Maker.
Well, I started my business in 2017, originally in video marketing, because it was a really natural transition from a broadcaster to doing video marketing specifically. And I did that for several years and still do for some private clients. What I discovered though is that during the pandemic, when we saw the surge of social audio, Clubhouse, Zoom, everything was going in a different direction. I had already at that point tried podcasting twice with, I get maybe mild success, but I didn't have it dialed in. Certainly I had it dialed in from a production perspective. I did not have it dialed in from a strategic perspective.
Mhm.
So I was still focused on building the audience, and I wanted to be on new and noteworthy. And I was more audience focused when I was doing
Mhm.
it the first couple of times. During the pandemic, when everything was shifting around the idea around relationships, I really had somewhat of an epiphany that, oh, that's what I should be focusing on in all aspects of my business. That's always what has worked since I started this thing a few years ago. So why don't I now start a new podcast with that strategy in mind? Just
Mhm.
meeting people and building connections and building out a system to connect with them before, during, and after, and figuring
Yes.
out what are ways we can work together and how can I serve that person and what could I do to further the relationship along and to follow up with them and things of that nature. And so that's really what I did. And that's when things started to click. I went,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, I get it now. It's not about the audience, it's about having great offers,
Mhm.
transformative offers, yes, but it's also about building a foundation of meeting people and building relationships." And so, lo and behold, in 2023, I guess it was, yeah, it was last year, my philosophy was seen by one of my partners on another networking event that I was on, because I was there and I was speaking about it. And he reached out and said, "Tell me more about your philosophy around podcasting." Well, it turns out that he and my third business partner had already been in discussion about wanting to go into that space, but they needed a
Mhm.
me. And so that's when it all became real. So we've only, we formed in 2023 as a joint venture. We work great together. And now we're focused on the signature offer, the 7-figure podcaster program. And we have other trainings and other things that we do to help people on their path to getting there. But it's all built around this idea of leveraging podcasting to grow.
So Cheryl, I didn't get a chance to ask you this before we went on live. Are you an author?
You know what? I have not authored my own book as a solo author, but I'm in this one. I'm in this one. And chapter 25 in this one. So, yes,
Nice,
I did pull the
nice.
books this morning. I thought I better be prepared for the books that I have been part of so far. Yes.
So I'm going to ask you two questions then. So I'll ask you the question that I ask people who are authors, but I'm also going to ask you, since you don't have a solo book, the question I ask people who are not authors. So are you ready, Cheryl?
I'm ready.
Okay. So what was the good and the bad and the ugly about being in these co-authored books?
Hmm. Well, the good is to have your word in print, right? There's something very satisfying about guerrilla education, for example, right? Being able to open that up. I'm on chapter 25. I've got it marked here. And it's humbling to see your words in print like that. So I think that's true of this one, of visibility with Danella Burnett, and also business boost with Suzanne Evans.
I love
Um,
Suzanne. She's awesome.
oh, she's
I've met
great.
her.
They're all fantastic and people that I admire so much. All three are people that David, Danella Burnett, and Suzanne Evans. The bad, gosh, I don't even know that. I mean, the bad is probably just more on my side. It's nothing to do with them or the books. It's just I think all three cases here, I'm a person who, and maybe when I was authoring the segments or the chapters in these books, was not as organized as I probably should have been in order to give them what they need to do what they're doing. So like it's the bad is on me, to put it that way. So the good, the bad, the ugly, there isn't any.
That's
I'm
good.
proud to be in those books and proud to have them on my shelf. And I think that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we have moments where certainly it's not all glorious and all up.
Mm.
We all have moments where, oh, you feel defeated and you're just tired and, all those different things. And then you look over at your bookshelf and you go, but you know what? Darn it, I'm doing good things. Look, I've been, I'm featured in these books, or I was on that show, or I've been featured on 100 podcasts. And you start looking at the list of the things that you've done and the accomplishments, or we've helped, like you said earlier in the intro, we've helped our clients generate over, and we're now at 3.6 million in sales from being in our program. I mean, those are things that when you feel down, you can go back on and say, but I'm doing good things, right? I'm moving the ball forward and I'm making things happen.
Did you find that doing those chapters was a clarifying process for you? It really made you had to think things through.
For sure, because they look at you and say, okay, what do you want your chapter to be about? Right? I go, oh, well, let me think. And so I wrote about podcasting in David's book. In Business Boosts, I talked about saying yes, I think was my theme there. In visibility, I was talking about moving forward and, just you have to think through, like, what is my opinion? What is my point of view? And what is my opinion? I think when you are an entrepreneur and you're busy, especially if you're working solo, which I was for many years before I joined the joint venture, you are doing all the things and you don't
Yes.
often take time to sit down and reflect, really. I certainly have my talking points and my point of view as far as speaking is concerned. But then when it comes time to a chapter in a book, you do have to reflect. You do want to provide something different, perhaps, than what others in the book are offering. And I think also you want to be thinking about the theme of the book. It has to fit the theme of the book. Otherwise, you would not have been asked to be part of it had you not had something to say on that subject.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to ask the question I ask those who don't have their own solo books.
Okay.
So if you were to write a book to build your business, what would you write about?
A solo book?
To build your business.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of my experiences as a teenager and how this whole thing began is really at the root of the business. And so I'd probably write something around resilience, around commitment, around belief in yourself and not being, say, a victim of your circumstances.
Yes.
And I think that there are parallels between that and being a business owner and entrepreneurship, right? It's the same kind of qualities that you need to have, whether it's life, as was the case when I was younger, as it is now in business. I think there's a parallel there. So I think that's probably what I would talk about, would be this idea of resilience, and perseverance and working through, clawing your way to where you need to go. It's not always pretty, but it's so worth it when you can accomplish the thing that you want to accomplish. Certainly entrepreneurs are, I think, driven by wanting to make an impact on others. And I was doing that when I was 18 years old. I see that pattern now. As I look back, I go, so interesting how today I'm helping people with their podcasts and building their business and trying to put them up on their own pedestal and giving them their voice to be able to move forward. And I was actually doing that even as a teenager. I was hosting a TV show when I was 18 years old, and I was involved in pageantry and modeling and all these different things. And I was even doing those types of things at that point too. So it's probably something that built inside of it.
Love it, Cheryl. Well, we've only got a minute or two left, so I would love to give you a chance to give us one last thought. And if you have anything that you would like to offer the audience, now's the time to do it.
I think if you're an author, you're someone who is driven to get your message out into the world, and podcasting as a host or as a guest could be a great way to do that. But if you're thinking about building this business and building your business through podcasting, think about high ticket offers. think about providing a transformative program from top to bottom, A to Z, no stone unturned, and you too can benefit from having a high margin program such as that. Last thought I would say is, we have a Facebook group called Podcast Monetization System. You can find us and request to join. It's a private group, but request to join, answer a couple questions, and we'd love to have you in there. We do live trainings and things of that nature. And also we have our ultimate directory of podcasters. So I'll leave the link as well for that. You can get a listing of 958 podcasters who are looking for guests as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Sheryl,
Kim.
for being on the show today. Really enjoyed having you. And I love the discussion. I think when we can shift our mindset, when we can look at things from the vantage point of building a business that is sustainable, those are the conversations I love having.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Sheryl. Where to go next, audience? Well, if you're watching at this point, I want to direct you back a few episodes to episode 509 with Jill Lublin, How to Get Publicity as an Entrepreneur. So if you're on YouTube, you know the routine. My daughter has placed the thumbnail here on the screen for you to click. If you're on your favorite podcast app, you're only going to go back maybe about 10, 12 episodes to find another great episode on building your business and getting yourself out there as an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye now.
You've been listening to the Author to Authority podcast. The extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson Pinder, has helped over 200 entrepreneurs, professionals, speakers, and coaches write and publish their books that have become incredible marketing tools for their business. And many of those have gone on to become Amazon best-selling authors and have used their books to land high-level clients and get on big stages. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at www.authortoauthoritypodcast.com. See you next time.